Getting a professional-looking poster or flyer normally means that you have to pay a graphic designer or waste weeks designing yourself. But now one AI tool does all of it for you in a couple of minutes, and the best part is that the result looks better than most paid work out there. So in this video, I'll show you the exact A to Z process I use to create posters like these. Now the tool behind all of this is called OpenArt. But before we get started, let me show you why your first result always comes out okay, but never something you'd be proud of. So I'm gonna make the same poster twice. The idea is to make a grand opening flyer for a coffee shop named Brew & Co. with the same name, the same date, and the same free coffee offer for both. And for that, I'm going to get set up inside OpenArt. Now I'll go to Image, then press Create Image. And the first thing I'll see at the top is the model. By default, it sits on Nano Banana 2, but I'll make sure to switch that over to GPT Image 2, which is OpenAI's model, and it's the one I use for every single poster in this video. Then I'll scroll down a little under the prompt box. The first one is the output, and that is where I'll set the aspect ratio to 2:3, which just gives it that tall, upright poster shape. I'll also increase the resolution up to 4K so it comes out sharp enough to use. The second one is the quality, and I'll set that all the way to high, and that is the whole setup, so now it just comes down to the prompt. The lazy way, the way almost everyone does, is to just describe what you want and leave it like that. So I'll type in the plain version with only the facts, the shop name, the date, and the free coffee, and I'll hit generate. Look, it is not bad at all. But now look at everything the model added completely on its own, the extra taglines, the little badges along the bottom, all this stuff I never once asked for. When I only give it the facts and leave the rest open, the model fills every empty space with its own taste. So now I'll make the same poster one more time with the same name, the same date, and the same offer, but this time I'll direct it. I'll still give it those details, but this time I'll also tell it to build the whole thing around one single latte. And I'll make sure to put the headline in quotation marks so the text comes out exactly right, and I'll tell it what order to read everything in from the name at the top down to the small details at the bottom. I'll generate it again. Look at that. It is built around the one latte. The name is the first thing you read, and it looks like a real cafe poster now. So that second one is finally the poster I actually wanted instead of whatever the model decided to make for me. But it's still not quite at that high-end professional level yet, and that comes down to one thing the model will never do on its own. And that one thing is the hierarchy. It basically just means deciding what to make big, what to make small, and what gets read first. And to really show you how much it matters, I'm going to take one sales flyer and build it 3 separate times, going from something that looks okay to something professional. I'll take a summer sale for a fashion store called Avery Lane, and I'll put every single sale message onto it. Everything on there is too big and loud, my eye has nowhere to look. And that exact moment is when the whole thing just reads as a cheap discount flyer. So now I'll take that same sale with all the same information, and this time I'll rank it. Instead of letting everything shout at once, I'll pick one message to be the hero, that big 50% off, and I'll push everything else underneath it, smaller, with a bit of room to breathe. Now that is already so much better, because there is one clear thing to look at, and everything else just quietly supports it. But if I'm being honest, it is also kind of plain now. It reads perfectly, but there is no real personality to it. So for the last version, I'll keep that exact same clean ranking, but this time I'll also tell it to give the whole thing a proper editorial look, like a real high-end fashion campaign. And I'll generate it one more time. There it is. That is the one. It held on to everything that made the second one so easy to read, but now it looks like a real fashion brand made it. And that is the level I promised earlier, the one that looks like I paid a designer a fortune for it. But these are flyers. The real test is what happens when I ask it for something completely different. Now, I want to see how far this thing can go. So I'll stop with the flyers, and I'll start asking it for every other kind of poster I can think of. So first I'll go for a full cinematic movie poster, and I'll describe a sci-fi thriller called Echo Protocol, one lone astronaut standing in front of a massive glowing structure. And then I'll pile on everything a real movie poster has. The 2 lead actor names across the top, the title down in the lower third, a tagline, a director credit, a release date, and even that tiny block of studio credits squished along the bottom of every real one. And I'll hit generate. Now look at that. It got the whole dark cinematic feel, the astronaut standing tiny against that glowing structure, and it even got that little block of studio credits squeezed in along the bottom. And that is the hardest part to get right. All that tiny text pushed into one line, and it handled it in a single go. So I'll go for something completely different, a minimal product ad for a pair of wireless headphones called Aura One. I'll describe the headphones floating right in the middle, clean studio lighting, the brand name up top, and a short tagline underneath. Look at how different this is from the movie poster. That one was dark and packed with detail, and this one is bright and clean with almost nothing on it but the headphones sitting in space. This is the thing I really want you to notice, because I did not touch a single setting between the two. I only changed the words, and the model shifted its entire look completely on its own. Now for the next one, a magazine cover. There is one small thing I'll change first. Because a cover is taller than a normal poster, I'll go back into that output setting and switch the ratio from 2 to 3 over to 3 to 4. Then I'll describe a fashion magazine called Vantage, with a model looking straight down the lens and a few cover lines around her. That honestly looks like a real magazine. The part that surprised me is that it did not just make a nice photo of a woman. It understood the actual format. The big masthead across the top, the little cover lines sitting around her, the exact way a real glossy is laid out. Next, I'll go for a gallery poster for a contemporary art exhibition called Modern Visions. I'll describe one bold piece of abstract artwork as the focal point, with the exhibition name, the dates, and the gallery underneath it. This one is the complete opposite of the magazine. Where that was busy and glossy, this is calm and refined, with loads of empty space and almost nothing on it but the artwork and the title. And honestly, knowing what to leave off a poster is its own skill, and the fact that it held all that back on its own is what makes this look like a real gallery print. After that, I'll make a book cover for a novel called The Salt Road. I'll describe a lone figure crossing a huge cracked salt flat under a wide dusk sky, with the title, the author's name, and a little review quote up at the top. That looks like a real novel you would actually find in a bookshop. The thing I love about this one is the mood. It feels quiet and a bit lonely and kind of cinematic, which is exactly the feeling a good literary cover is meant to give you. And that mood is not something I set with a button anywhere. It came purely from the words I chose to describe it. Then I'll try something with a bit more weight to it, a campaign poster for an ocean charity. I'll describe a sea turtle swimming through floating plastic, with one bold headline and a line about how much plastic ends up in the sea every year. This one feels completely different again, because it is not trying to sell me anything. It is trying to make me feel something, and it genuinely works. That one image of the turtle in all that plastic, with the headline sitting over it, does exactly what a real charity poster is meant to do. And for the last one, I'll make a travel poster for Kyoto in Japan. I'll describe a red pagoda and torii gates surrounded by bright autumn maples with a mountain sitting behind it all. That last one is just gorgeous. The red pagoda sitting in all those autumn colors with the mountain quiet behind it. It looks like a proper travel print, the kind you would frame and hang on your wall. And that is the part that actually got me. There is no movie setting or magazine setting anywhere in this tool. Every single one of those came out of nothing but the words I typed. But every product and every face in these is completely made up, invented on the spot, and the second I need the same one to show up twice, just describing it stops working. And the fix for that is where this whole thing gets really powerful. Instead of describing a product or a person and just hoping it comes out the same way twice, I can feed the tool a real photo of it, and from then on, I can put that exact same thing into any poster I want. So I've already got a few things saved in here, ready to go. 4 real products: a sneaker, a drink, a serum, and a watch, plus a photo of myself. So let me start with the sneaker. I want to give it a proper premium ad, the kind a real athletic brand would run. So instead of describing the sneaker at all, I'll just bring in the saved one by its tag right there in the prompt. Then I'll build the rest around it, the brand name up top, a bold headline, a clean high-end layout, and I'll hit generate. There is my sneaker, not something that just looks a bit like it, the exact one, the same shape, and the same detailing, sitting in a clean premium ad. And that is the whole power of the tag. It is not taking a guess at a sneaker anymore. It is using my real one every single time. So then I'll do the exact same thing with the other 3, the drink, the serum, and the watch, each one pulled in by its own tag, and every time it comes out as the real product, never a made-up version of it. Now, here's where it gets really interesting, because it's not just products I've saved. I've got a photo of me in there too, so I'll put myself into a streetwear ad for that same sneaker. But the very first time I tried it, I ran straight into a problem, because the photo I saved is just a plain neutral headshot. The model treats that neutral face as the starting point, and it makes me look flat and expressionless in a poster that is supposed to be full of attitude. So here is the fix, and it is the key to this whole thing. I'll keep my face and my identity locked exactly as they are, but on top of that, I'll tell it directly what expression I want. So for the streetwear ad, I'll ask for a cool, confident, slightly aloof look. There I am, still completely me. The same face, but now with that edgy, confident attitude a real streetwear campaign actually needs. Then I'll do a beauty campaign, this time with me holding that serum I've got saved. I'll keep my face exactly as it is, but ask for soft, glowing skincare ad lighting instead, and that comes out looking like a proper high-end beauty ad, radiant skin and all. It's me in a totally different world to the edgy streetwear shot, and all I changed was the campaign I asked for. Then I'll make a cooking one, and this time I'll ask for the complete opposite, a warm, genuine, friendly smile. It is still unmistakably me, but now I look bright and welcoming, exactly right for a fun cooking show. And then a fitness one where I'll ask for an intense, focused, determined expression. Once again, same face, still me, but now with that serious, locked-in energy a real fitness ad is built on. And that is the whole trick to putting myself in these. I keep my identity locked, so it is always unmistakably me, but I direct the emotion every single time, so I'm never stuck wearing one flat expression. But so far, I've built every single one from scratch, and I don't always want a whole new poster. I just want to change one small thing on a poster you already made. So that is exactly what I'm going to show you next, how to change just one thing without redoing the whole poster. And the way this works is so simple, and it is the single biggest time saver in this whole video. I'll take a poster I've already made, I'll feed it straight back into the tool, and then I'll only describe the one thing I want to change while everything else stays exactly as it was. So let me start with that watch ad from earlier. I'll feed it back in, and this time I'll only ask it to change the text, to swap the headline for a new one, and to keep everything else, the watch, the background, the layout, exactly the same, and I'll hit generate. There it is, the exact same poster, the same watch in the same spot, the same lighting, all of it, except the headline is now completely different. It did not rebuild anything, it just swapped the words and left the rest alone. So now I'll feed that same poster back in again, but this time I'll go bigger and change the whole background. I'll tell it to keep the watch and the text exactly where they are, but to change the setting to a forest, with the watch now resting on a mossy rock with vines around it. Look at that. The watch has not moved at all. The text is still exactly the same, but the entire environment around it is now a forest. Then I'll take it one step further, and instead of changing the scene, I'll swap out the actual product. I'll feed the poster back in, and I'll tell it to keep the whole layout and all the text, but to replace the watch with a completely different one, an analog watch I've got saved as a tag. And there it is, the analog watch sitting in the same ad now, and it fits right in like it was always there. This does not just work on products, it works on people too. So I'll take that streetwear poster of me from earlier, and I'll feed it back in. I'll tell it to keep my face, my pose, and the whole layout, but to restyle the entire thing pink, swapping my sneaker for the pink version I've saved and changing my outfit to match. There I am, and now the whole thing's gone pink, my outfit, the sneaker, all of it. It kept me exactly as I was and just restyled everything around me. And that is the whole point of editing. I never have to start over and risk losing a poster I already loved. I just change the one thing I want and keep everything else. But every poster so far has been pretty clean and modern. So for the very last part, I want to take it somewhere completely different, into the bold, over-the-top, stylized stuff, and see if it can pull that off too. And each of these is tied to one very specific era, the kind of look that's so distinct it's normally really hard to get right. So first I'll go for a vintage circus poster, the classic early 1900s kind. I'll ask for aged worn paper, that ornate old-fashioned lettering, bold reds and golds, an illustrated ringmaster, and the whole big top feel. And I'll hit generate. That is spot on. The paper looks 100 years old and worn at the edges, and the lettering is that ornate antique style you only ever see on real old posters. It did not just draw a circus, it recreated the entire era it would have come from. Now I'll jump forward about 80 years to an 80s synthwave poster. I'll ask for that glowing neon grid, a purple and pink sunset, chrome lettering, and a sleek sports car driving off into the distance. There it is, a completely different world again. Glowing neon, that chrome 80s text, the car heading off into the sunset. It looks exactly like an old retro album cover. And that is a huge jump from worn 100-year-old paper straight to bright 80s neon, and the only thing I changed was the decade I described. For the very last one, I'll go all the way back again to an old Wild West wanted poster. I'll ask for weathered, torn parchment, that distressed Western lettering, a hand sketched outlaw, and the big reward at the bottom. That one is just perfect. The parchment looks aged and coffee stained. The outlaw is sketched like it was drawn by hand, and the whole thing has that rough old frontier feel. It looks like something you would genuinely tear off a post in an old western town. And that is the whole point of this video. The exact same tool that made me a simple coffee shop flyer at the very start just made me a vintage circus poster, an 80s neon print, and a Wild West wanted poster. And it nailed every single one. That is a whole design studio's worth of range out of one tool, and I made all of it myself, with zero design skills, and no one would ever guess. And honestly, the hardest part of this whole thing was just deciding what to make next, because what you have seen is nowhere near everything this tool can do. So go check out OpenArt, the link is in the description, and make your first poster or flyer for whatever you need. Thanks for watching, see you in the next video.